And we start with breaking overnight news. Authorities say a Navajo police officer and a suspect are dead this morning after shooting near the Four Corners of the state. Now, according to authorities, it began in Shiprock after officers received a call about a man with a rifle holding a family hostage. When an officer arrived, that's when authorities say 24-year-old Justin Fowler opened fire, wounding the officer. From there, a massive manhunt was underway, stretching from across the state and into Arizona. Now, at about 10:30 last night, authorities say both the suspect and the officer were killed following a shootout near Red River, Arizona.
Also this morning, an Albuquerque mother is charged with cheering her daughter on during a fight.
Pull her down.
In this fight, deputies say Nicole Morland can be seen at the Taft Middle School encouraging her daughter to fight as other students egg the two girls on too. Deputies say Morland may have even left a threatening phone message for the girl that her daughter had been fighting. They are still working to get their hands on that message. Morland is charged with child abuse today. Also developing this morning, this woman appears in court today to face charges of robbing a bank. The FBI says 27-year-old Denise Romero gave a teller at the New Mexico Bank and Trust on 4th Street a note demanding money on Monday. She was arrested yesterday.
We turn now to this, a new bill creating controversy after the lawmaker behind it wants veterans to have a special state driver's license. It doesn't sound too bad at first, but some think it will put a bad label on those who've fought for our country. The bill would allow veterans to have the word veteran stamped on their driver's licenses. There are claims, though, that Democratic Representative Jeff Steinborn wants to do this so police know when they're dealing with a veteran who could be dangerous. But the idea is not settling well with others. Take a listen.
They tried to sell it as its convenience for veterans. I don't see it as that at all.
That's Senator Craig Brandt. He's a veteran himself. He says those comments offended him and all New Mexico veterans. We tried to catch up with Steinborn, but he did not want to comment. His bill now heads to the Senate floor.
A bill sparked by a Larry Barker investigation to let you shop around for the cheapest hospital prices in New Mexico unanimously passed the House. It's now heading to the governor's desk. Last month, Larry exposed how New Mexicans are paying, in some cases, tens of thousands of dollars more to be treated at some hospitals. He showed you how a bill for blood poisoning at UNM Hospital would cost an average of $96,000, but it would cost more than twice as much, $197,000 at Loveless. If the governor signs this thing into law, the bill would make hospital prices transparent on a public website for you to view by January 1st of 2018. There are still a lot of bills that could make it to the governor's desk before the legislative session comes to an end tomorrow at noon.
Yeah, News 13's Catherine Mazzone takes a look at some that need to really get moving to make it up to the fourth floor. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. You're right. Now, while it's unclear as to whether they'll be signed into law, there are some bills that have been big talkers waiting to move forward. Probably one of the most important is the $6.2 billion budget bill. It's still sparking last-minute bickering among Republicans and Democrats. The plan includes raises for new teachers and state police officers. It also calls for $37 million in initiatives for education. Now, there is a bipartisan tax package. It's designed to create more jobs among high-tech startups and technology-focused businesses. Another bill looks a bit like New York's legislation known as Kendra's Law. That would allow some judges to require certain patients to take medication and undergo treatment if they're considered a danger to themselves or others. Plus, statewide infrastructure projects that could include everything from road projects to improvements in recreational centers and senior centers. Now, of course, all are looking at one of the most talked about bills this session, the bill to keep New Mexico on daylight saving time year round. It's passed out of committees and is moving forward to the House floor for a vote. A few more bills that made it through, one to ban the sale of e-cigs to minors and another that would encourage the film industry to buy and hire local workers and products right here in New Mexico. Back to you, Crystal.
All right, thanks for that information, Catherine. Now, we knew this session was going to be a controversial one, with the GOP holding power in the House for the very first time in decades. Coming up in our next half hour, we'll take a look at several controversial bills that died even before making it out of committee.
Time's now 5:06. Albuquerque's historic Dionza Motor Lodge is now on track with redevelopment plans. The Albuquerque Development Commission unanimously approved a $8.2 million condotel idea yesterday. It will be called Anthea at Dionza. The Albuquerque Business First reports plans include a restaurant headed by the owner of the Range Cafe and Standard Diner. The other proposal considered was a boutique hotel.
On to this developing news this morning. The Islamic State is claiming responsibility for Wednesday's deadly attack on a popular museum in Tunisia.
More than 20 people were killed, most of them tourists, when two gunmen opened fire there. The attackers were killed by police. Several others have been arrested in connection with that shooting. And new this morning, child car safety seat maker Graco is facing the largest ever penalty of its kind. The National Highway Transportation Safety Administration will fine Graco $3 million for its recalls of car seats last year. Here are the facts. Graco will also be required to spend $7 million over the next 5 years on child car safety seat awareness. The company recalled more than 6 million child safety seats in 2014 because of a defective latch that could trap children.
A lawsuit filed in a California court claims top-selling wines have dangerous levels of arsenic. The plaintiffs claim the toxin levels are 4 or even 5 times the level allowed by the EPA and that the winemakers are not alerting consumers. The claims have been backed by at least 3 testing labs. Lawyers on the case are asking winemakers to recall those wines. Most of the wines named in the lawsuit are pretty expensive. They include some very popular names, including Franzia.
Deadly dog attack caught on camera in California is pitting 2 neighbors against each other. Lou Parra says his cat was out roaming when this man's dogs spotted her. You can see the dogs pull him across the street, go after the cat there. At one point, you can see the cat in one of the dogs' mouths. The cat does escape. The dogs gave chase again. This time the confrontation turned deadly. Parra says he found his cat without any explanation from the man. The owner of the dogs is not responding.
Oh my gosh, that is horrible.
Frightening moments for him.
Forcing some local stores to change how they operate this morning. Most Walmarts are open 24 hours. We all know that, right? But those hours have changed at some Albuquerque stores because they've dealt with just way too much crime there. Walmart at Coors and I-40, San Mateo near Zuni, and Eubank near I-40. There are 3 locations that Albuquerque police say keep them really busy. From everything from shootings to shoplifting, drug busts, and even deaths. Something else the 3 stores are known for, of course, being open 24/7, but now there are signs alerting customers to new hours, 6 a.m. to midnight.
I do come here often. I come here like 3 times a week, so yeah, this is a surprise for me.
KRQE News 13 called the Walmart on Eubank near I-40 to ask about the new hours. The woman on the phone said it was because of a lot of theft and violence there. Corporate spokesperson said there were a lot of factors and safety was one of them.
Time now is 5:32. There are new developments this morning in the case of a suspected biker gang member accused of turning a fundraiser into a brawl. Malachi Seaman is accused of showing up at a fundraiser for a girl with cancer in 2013 and starting a shootout with the Black Berets who had organized that event. Police say Seaman beat a man with a baton and 2 other suspected vagos started shooting. The Black Berets fired back, leaving Seaman's brother dead. He was charged with aggravated assault. Prosecutors dropped the charges, citing a lack of evidence, but they say they can now refile them. A new $25,000 reward is being offered to help solve the 1990 Las Cruces bowling alley massacre. 25 years ago, 2 armed men walked into the bowling alley through an unlocked door as it was preparing to open, shooting 7 people. 4 of those people died, including a 2-year-old and her 6-year-old sister. The men took about $5,000 from the safe and they shot the victims execution style before setting the office on fire. Until now, the reward was only $1,000, but Las Cruces Crime Stoppers hopes this new $25,000 reward will generate some new leads.
We turn now to this. House Democrat leader Nancy Pelosi is in New Mexico today talking affordable higher education. Pelosi and Congressman Ben Ray Lujan are touring Santa Fe Community College this morning. The pair will discuss why community colleges are important to prep students and retrain workers. Pelosi tapped Ray Lujan to be the head of the Democratic Party's campaign committee back in November. It's now 5:34. State lawmakers have a little more than a day to make stuff happen in Santa Fe before the session is over.
Yeah, we knew this session was going to be a controversial one. A lot of hot topics wanting to take center stage at the Roundhouse, but many didn't make it too far. News 13's Catherine Mazzone takes a look at some of those more talked about bills. Catherine?
That's right, Adam. Good morning. This has been a historic session with Republicans holding power in the House for the first time in decades. But with Democrats leading the Senate, there's been little common ground on several controversial subjects. Let's take a look. A piece of legislation that would legalize marijuana never made it through the House Agriculture Committee. Another bill that's made a lot of headlines, right to work. It never made it through the Senate Public Affairs Committee. That one would have allowed workers to decide whether they join a union or contribute to one. And two focused on a fiercely controversial subject, abortion, were both tabled in a Senate committee. One would have banned late-term abortions. The other would have required parental notification before allowing a minor to get an abortion. Now, several more bills that haven't gotten very far. One to undo the law that allows illegal immigrants to get driver's license. Another ending social promotion, that is, holding back third graders who struggle to read. And that bill to extend the school year for elementary school students, well, that one died too. Back to you, Adam.
Catherine, thanks for that rundown. We did check on the status of a few more controversial bills. Legislation to sell the spaceport recently stalled in committee, and daylight saving time bill that would keep us on Mountain Daylight Saving Time year-round has passed out of committee, and it's moving to the House floor for a vote now. More movies and TV shows could be made in New Mexico if the governor signs another proposal into law. A bill giving production companies more tax incentives cleared the state legislature this week. It adjusts the film tax credit to encourage production companies to use New Mexico facilities and buy and hire locally. Governor Martinez helped to put caps on film tax credits when she took office, but some of those caps have since been rolled back. 5:36 and some scary moments on a United Airlines flight this week when a man tried to rush the cockpit, screaming the word jihad. And new this morning, we're getting an inside look on board that plane from an Espanola man.
It was just very surreal. I didn't know what was going on.
John Martinez says the craziness began as soon as that plane took off from Washington, D.C. en route to Denver. He says the lights were still off when he noticed a man climbing toward the front of the plane using seats as leverage. And that's when another passenger took matters into his own hands.
At that point, a gentleman that was sitting in first class immediately just got up, bear hugged the guy, and just body slammed him and took him down to the ground.
Martinez says after a few minutes of wrestling with the man, a flight attendant was able to grab zip ties to stop him. After that, the flight attendant announced the plane would be turning back. Martinez says they were on the ground again within 5 minutes. A government source says there's nothing so far in the tackled man's background to suggest that he has a connection with terrorists. No weapons were found after he was subdued. Disturbing findings by the Associated Press this morning about the Ebola outbreak.
Yeah, according to emails and internal documents, the WHO delayed calling the outbreak that ravaged West Africa a public health emergency. Now, staff reportedly told higher-ups in the agency 2 months before, but it still resulted in a postponement that some say may have increased that death toll. And on to this, the United States is reassessing its options after a controversial declaration issued by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just right before his re-election victory, that is. Earlier this week, Netanyahu said he opposed a two-state solution between Israelis and Palestinians. Netanyahu sought to take back the comment in a series of interviews Thursday amid a deepening rift with the White House.
On to this, we now know what led to several underground explosions in Indianapolis. Power and light officials there are blaming electrical arcing, which they say led to a short circuit. There's some video of one of them. The explosions started early yesterday, prompting Indianapolis fire officials to evacuate parts of the downtown area. No one was injured in all of that.
That's great.